Zara Johnson tried to make herself small as she walked down the hallway of Westlake Academy. It was only her third week at this fancy school, and already she hated every minute of it. The shiny floors, the tall lockers, and worst of all, the mean students who seemed to notice everything about her. Zara kept her eyes on the floor as she moved quickly toward her next class. "Look who it is, the charity case," a loud voice called out. It was Madison Taylor, the most popular girl in the 11th grade. Her father owned car dealerships all over the city, and she never let anyone forget it. Madison stood with her friends by the water fountain, all of them wearing expensive clothes with designer labels that Zara could never afford. "Did you get those shoes from the trash?" Another girl laughed, pointing at Zara's worn sneakers. They had been white once, but were now a dull gray from so many washings. Zara said nothing. She just gripped her books tighter and walked faster. The truth was, Zara could have worn nicer things. Her family had plenty of money, but her grandfather, who had built their fortune from nothing, had taught her important lessons about being humble and not showing off wealth. "Never let money change who you are," he always said. So when Zara started at this new school, she decided to just be herself. No fancy clothes, no expensive bags, no bragging about her family. In her math class, Zara sat in the back row. She was good with numbers and enjoyed the work, but she hated when the teacher asked her to solve problems at the board. Today, Mrs. Bennett called on her. "Zara, please come show us how to solve equation number 5, she said. Zara's stomach tightened as she walked to the front of the class. She could hear Madison and her friends whispering and giggling. As she wrote on the board, someone whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Look at those jeans, my little sister wouldn't even wear those." More laughter followed. Zara's hand shook slightly, but she finished the problem correctly and returned to her seat. Mrs. Bennett gave her an approving nod, but it didn't help much. Math class was followed by English, then history, and finally lunch, the worst part of Zara's day. The cafeteria at Westlake Academy was huge, with long tables and floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out onto the school's green sports fields. Most students brought lunch money to buy the school's fancy meals, but Zara always packed her own lunch in a plain brown paper bag. Today she found an empty table in the corner and sat down. She pulled out her sandwich and opened her book, hoping to read quietly while she ate. But peace never lasted long at Westlake. Madison and her 5 friends surrounded Zara's table, their trays loaded with expensive cafeteria food. "Mind if we join you?" Madison asked with a fake smile. Before Zara could answer, they all sat down. This was new. Usually they just made fun of her from across the room. "So," Madison began, stirring her fancy yogurt parfait with a spoon, "I heard you live on the east side of town. Isn't that where all the small houses are?" Zara took a bite of her sandwich and didn't answer. "My dad says people who live there can't afford to shop at his dealerships," Madison continued. "He says they buy used cars that break down all the time." One of the other girls, Amber, reached over and poked at Zara's paper bag. "Do you bring lunch because you can't afford the cafeteria food? The school gives free meals to poor students. You know?" Zara felt her face getting hot. "I'm not poor," she said quietly. "I just like bringing my own lunch." This made all the girls laugh. "Sure," Madison said. "That's why you wear the same 3 shirts every week, right?" Another girl, Sophia, grabbed Zara's backpack from the floor. It was old and slightly torn at one corner. "Oh my God, this bag is ancient. Did you get it from your grandma or something?" "Please give that back," Zara said, reaching for it. Sophia held it away from her. "It's so heavy. What do you have in here, bricks?" "Books," Zara said. "For the children's reading program. Now please give it back." Madison took the bag from Sophia and unzipped it. "Let's see what Miss Charity Case carries around," she said, starting to pull out the contents. Zara stood up. "Stop it. Those aren't yours." Her voice was louder now, and some students at nearby tables were starting to look over. Madison dumped the contents onto the table. Several children's books fell out, along with Zara's school notebooks and a small worn wallet. "Wow, look at this fancy wallet," Madison laughed, reaching for it. "I bet there's like $5 in here." That was when they all heard the loud, stern voice from behind them. "What is going on here?" The cafeteria went quiet. Mrs. Peterson, the school principal, was standing at their table. Next to her stood an elegant older woman with silver hair, wearing a beautiful suit and pearl earrings. Her dark skin was smooth and she carried herself like someone important. "Grandma?" Zara said in surprise. The older woman looked at the mess on the table, then at Madison still holding Zara's wallet. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Is this how students at Westlake Academy treat each other?" she asked, her voice calm but powerful. Madison quickly put down the wallet. "We were just joking around," she said weakly. Mrs. Peterson looked horrified. "Ms. Johnson, I assure you this is not acceptable behavior at our school. These students will be disciplined immediately." The cafeteria was so quiet now that everyone could hear every word. Students were watching with wide eyes and open mouths. "Johnson?" someone whispered. "Like Johnson Foundation Johnson?" Mrs. Peterson turned to address the students who were staring. "For those who don't know, we are honored to have Ms. Eleanor Johnson visiting today. Her family's foundation just donated the new science building we'll be opening next month." Whispers spread across the cafeteria like wildfire. Everyone knew about the Johnson Foundation. It was one of the richest charitable organizations in the country. They funded hospitals, schools, and community programs everywhere. Their name was on buildings all over the city. Eleanor Johnson put her arm around her granddaughter. "Zara, darling, I came to tell you that your father's flight from Tokyo landed early. He wants to have lunch with you before the board meeting. I've signed you out for the rest of the day." Zara nodded, still embarrassed by the scene. She began putting her books back into her backpack. Eleanor turned to Madison and her friends who were now frozen in place. "Young ladies, I hope you realize that character is shown by how you treat others, not by what you own or wear." Her voice was kind but firm. "My granddaughter chooses to live simply because that's how we raised her. The Johnson family believes wealth is a responsibility, not something to show off or use to make others feel small." Madison's face had turned bright red. She looked like she wanted to disappear through the floor. "I'm sorry," she mumbled, not meeting anyone's eyes. Mrs. Peterson stepped forward. "Ms. Johnson, I'm deeply sorry about this incident. I assure you that—" Eleanor raised a hand to stop her. "No need to apologize to me. It's my granddaughter who deserves an apology." She looked at Zara with pride. "Though knowing her, she'll probably forgive these girls before I would." Zara had finished packing her things. She looked at Madison and the others who couldn't meet her eyes. She didn't say anything to them. She didn't need to. The look of shock on their faces said everything. As Zara walked out of the cafeteria, with her grandmother, the whispers grew louder. Students were putting it together now. The quiet new girl they had been making fun of was actually Zara Johnson, whose family was worth billions. The same family that had donated millions to their school and whose name was on half the important buildings in the city. "I don't understand why you don't just tell people who you are," Eleanor said as they walked to the parking lot where a black car with a driver waited. Zara shrugged. "Grandpa always said true friends like you for who you are, not what you have." Eleanor smiled and squeezed her granddaughter's shoulder. "Your grandfather was a wise man. He would be proud of you." She paused. "But he also wouldn't want you to be bullied." "I know," Zara said. "But now they know, and I guess we'll see tomorrow if anyone wants to be my friend for real." The black car pulled away from the school, leaving behind a cafeteria full of students who were seeing Zara Johnson in a completely new light. The next morning, Zara stood at the bus stop near her house waiting as usual. Even though her family could afford to drive her to school in their expensive car, Zara preferred the bus. She liked watching the city wake up through the windows, and she enjoyed being just another student among many. But today felt different. After what happened yesterday in the cafeteria, she knew things would change. The yellow school bus pulled up with a squeak of brakes. Zara climbed the steps and found most students staring at her. The usual chatter had stopped. She walked down the aisle, looking for an empty seat. "Zara, sit here," called a girl named Tiana from the back. Tiana had never spoken to Zara before, today. Zara hesitated, then sat down beside her. "Is it true your family owns like half the city?" Tiana asked immediately. Zara sighed. No, that's not true. My family has a big foundation that helps people. We don't own the city. But you're super rich, right? Why don't you have a driver or something? I like the bus, Zara said simply. She put in her earbuds and turned on her music, signaling the end of the conversation. Tiana looked disappointed but didn't push further. When the bus arrived at Westlake Academy, Zara could feel eyes following her as she walked to her locker. Students who had never noticed her before now smiled and waved. Some even tried to start conversations. Hey, Zara, love your shirt, said a boy who had laughed when Madison made fun of that exact same shirt last week. Thanks, Zara said quietly, turning to her locker. As she put away her jacket, she felt someone standing behind her. It was Madison. Her usual group of friends was nowhere to be seen, and she looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Peterson wants to see us in her office, Madison said, not meeting Zara's eyes. All of us from yesterday. Zara nodded and followed Madison to the principal's office. Inside, Mrs. Peterson sat behind her desk with a serious expression. Sophia, Amber, and the other girls from yesterday's cafeteria incident were already seated, looking nervous. Good morning, Mrs. Peterson said. I've called you all here to address what happened yesterday. At Westlake Academy, we have zero tolerance for bullying. She looked at Madison and her friends. You young ladies will each write a formal apology to Zara, and you'll all serve detention for 2 weeks. Madison looked up. My parents already took away my phone and grounded me for a month, she said. They were really mad. The other girls nodded, saying they had received similar punishments at home. Mrs. Peterson turned to Zara. Miss Johnson, I want to apologize again for what happened. If there's anything we can do to make you feel more comfortable here, please let us know. Zara thought for a moment. Actually, there is something, she said. I don't want special treatment because of my family. I'd like to be treated like any other student. Mrs. Peterson nodded. Of course, though I hope you'll understand if some students are curious about you. It's not every day they learn a classmate's family is behind the new science building. After leaving the office, Zara headed to her first class. She noticed Madison walking beside her. I'm sorry about yesterday, Madison said quietly. And all the other days too. What we did was really mean. Zara looked at her carefully. Are you sorry? Because I turned out to be rich or because what you did was wrong? Madison's face flushed. Both, I guess. At first, I was just scared my parents would find out I was mean to a Johnson. But then I couldn't sleep last night thinking about how we treated you. She paused. It was wrong no matter who you are. It was, Zara agreed. They reached their classroom door. But I accept your apology. During lunch, Zara found herself surrounded by students wanting to sit with her. The same people who had ignored her for weeks now acted like they were old friends. It made her uncomfortable. She ate quickly and escaped to the library, finding a quiet corner to read. A few minutes later, a boy named David sat down across from her. David was quiet and smart, and he had never been mean to Zara, though he had never reached out to be friendly either. Too many new friends? He asked with a small smile. Zara looked up from her book. You could say that. People can be pretty, fake, David said. Yesterday they didn't know you existed, and today they want to be your best friend. Because of my family's money, Zara said. David shrugged. People think being friends with someone rich or famous will make their lives better somehow. Does it work? Zara asked. I don't know. My family's not rich or famous. He smiled. I just came to return this. He held out a pencil. You dropped it in math class yesterday. I tried to give it back, but you left with your grandmother. Zara took the pencil. It was just a regular yellow pencil, nothing special. But she was touched that he had kept it for her. Thanks, she said. No problem, David replied, standing up. See you around. That afternoon, Zara's father picked her up from school. Charles Johnson was a tall man with kind eyes who traveled often for the family foundation. His car was nice but not flashy. A black sedan that didn't draw attention. "How was school today, sweetheart?" he asked as Zara got in. "Different," she said. "Everyone knows who we are now." Her father nodded. "Your grandmother told me what happened. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. But it's weird. This morning, 20 people who never spoke to me before suddenly want to be my friend." "That's how it goes," her father said with a sigh. "When people find out about our family, they change how they treat us. That's why your grandfather was so private." They drove through the city, passing several buildings with the Johnson name on them. The Johnson Children's Hospital, the Johnson Community Center, the Johnson Library. Zara had grown up seeing her family's name everywhere, but she never felt like it belonged to her. It was her grandfather's legacy. "Grandma said I should have just told everyone who I was from the beginning," Zara said. Her father shook his head. "Your grandmother means well, but I think you were right to keep it quiet. You deserve a chance to make friends who like you for yourself." He glanced at her. "Any real friends at that school?" Zara thought about David and the pencil. "Maybe one," she said. "I'm not sure yet." They pulled up to their house. It was large, but not a mansion. A beautiful 2-story home in a nice neighborhood with big trees. Zara's grandfather had always believed in living comfortably, but not extravagantly, even after he made his fortune. Most of the Johnson money went to the foundation, not to buying fancy things. Inside, Zara found her grandmother waiting for them. Eleanor Johnson sat in the living room with a serious look on her face. "Zara, dear, we need to talk," she said. "About tomorrow's foundation event," Zara groaned. She had forgotten about the big ceremony for the new science building at school. As part of the Johnson family, she would be expected to attend. "Everyone from school will be there," her grandmother continued. "The press too. It's time for you to take on more responsibilities with the foundation." "But Grandma, I'm only 16, Zara protested. "Your grandfather was working 2 jobs at 16, Eleanor reminded her. "And I was volunteering at the hospital. The Johnson name means something in this city. People look up to us." Zara's father put a hand on her shoulder. "Mom, don't pressure her. Zara can decide how involved she wants to be." Eleanor sighed. "I suppose you're right, Charles. But she should at least attend tomorrow, and perhaps say a few words." Zara thought about Madison and her friends, about the students who had ignored her for weeks and now wanted to be her friends. She thought about facing all of them as a Johnson, not just as Zara. "I'll go," she said finally, "but I'm not sure about speaking." "That's my girl," her grandmother said with a smile. "Just think about it. This could be a chance to show everyone who you really are." Zara wasn't sure that's what she wanted, but as she went upstairs to her room, she realized her quiet days at Westlake Academy were over. Tomorrow, everyone would see her standing with her family, cutting the ribbon on a building with their name on it. There would be no more hiding, no more being invisible. The question was, what kind of Zara Johnson did she want them to see? The morning of the big foundation ceremony arrived with clear skies and warm sunshine. Zara stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear. For the first time since starting at Westlake Academy, she opened the part of her closet that held nicer clothes, outfits her grandmother had bought her for special events. After some thought, she chose a simple but elegant blue dress that her father had once said matched her eyes. "You look beautiful," her father said when she came downstairs for breakfast. Her grandmother nodded in approval. "Very appropriate for the ceremony. I've arranged for the car to take us to the school at 10. The press will be there early." Zara picked at her toast. "Will I have to talk to reporters?" "Only if you want to," her father assured her. "But you might need to stand with us for photos." As they drove to Westlake Academy, Zara felt butterflies in her stomach. Yesterday, students had stared and whispered. Today would be even worse, with her family front and center at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new Johnson Science Building. When they arrived, the school looked different. A large stage had been set up on the front lawn. Rows of chairs faced it, and a big red ribbon stretched across the entrance of the gleaming new building. Reporters with cameras and microphones stood near the stage, while school staff directed guests to their seats. Mrs. Peterson hurried over as soon as she spotted Zara and her family. "The Johnsons, we're so honored to have you here. Please follow me to the VIP section." They were led to the front row, where the school board members and other important guests were seated. Students filled many of the other chairs, and Zara could feel their eyes on her. She spotted Madison and her friends several rows back, all dressed in their nicest clothes and watching her intently. "There are so many people," Zara whispered to her father. He squeezed her hand. "Just breathe. Remember, they're here for the building, not to stare at you." But it felt like they were staring. Everywhere Zara looked, she saw curious eyes and whispering mouths. Then she noticed David sitting a few rows back. He gave her a small nod and a genuine smile that somehow made her feel a little better. The ceremony began with Mrs. Peterson welcoming everyone and thanking the Johnson Foundation for its generous donation. "This state-of-the-art science building will provide our students with the best facilities for generations to come," she said proudly. Next, Eleanor Johnson took the stage. Zara's grandmother stood tall and confident as she spoke about the importance of education and how her late husband, Howard Johnson, had always believed in giving back to the community. "Howard started with nothing," Eleanor told the crowd. "He worked hard, built his business from the ground up, and never forgot where he came from. When success came, he made sure to share it with others." She looked directly at Zara. "Our family continues his legacy not just by giving money but by living his values every day. Some of you may not know that my granddaughter Zara has been attending this school for the past month." Murmurs spread through the crowd as more people turned to look at Zara. "She chose not to announce her connection to our family," Eleanor continued. "She wanted to be known for who she is, not for her family name. That's the kind of character Howard valued above all else." Zara felt her face growing warm as hundreds of eyes focused on her. "And now," Eleanor said, "I'd like to invite my son Charles and my granddaughter Zara to join me for the ribbon cutting." Zara froze. Her father stood and gently pulled her to her feet. "It's okay," he whispered. "Just smile and hold the scissors." In a daze, Zara followed her father onto the stage. Cameras flashed as the three Johnsons posed with a large pair of ceremonial scissors. Eleanor positioned Zara in the middle. "On the count of 3, Mrs. Peterson announced. 1, 2, 3. Together they cut the ribbon. Applause erupted from the crowd. More camera flashes. More applause. Zara tried to smile naturally, but her heart was racing. Then Eleanor stepped back to the microphone. "And now, my granddaughter." Zara would like to say a few words. Zara's eyes widened in shock. No one had told her she would have to speak. Her father looked equally surprised, giving Eleanor a disapproving glance. But there was no escape. The microphone was adjusted for her height, and suddenly Zara found herself facing hundreds of expectant faces. Students, teachers, reporters, community members, all waiting for her to speak. For a terrible moment, her mind went completely blank. Then she saw David in the audience giving her an encouraging nod. Beside him sat Madison, who for once didn't look smug or mean. She looked almost afraid for Zara. Zara took a deep breath. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice shaky at first but growing stronger. "I've only been at Westlake Academy for a short time, but I've already learned a lot here, and not just in the classroom." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "My grandfather believed that education is about more than just facts and figures. It's about learning who you are and how to treat others. He grew up poor but worked hard and was lucky enough to succeed. He taught our family that money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just gives you the responsibility to help others." Zara looked directly at Madison and her friends as she continued. "Sometimes people judge others based on what they wear or what they own. But my grandfather always said the only thing that really matters is a person's character, how they treat people who can do nothing for them." She saw Madison look down at her hands, clearly uncomfortable. "I hope this new science building will help students learn not just about chemistry and biology, but about working together and respecting each other regardless of background or appearance. Thank you." The applause was thunderous. Zara's father beamed with pride as she returned to her seat, her legs shaking slightly. Even her grandmother, who rarely showed emotion, wiped a tear from her eye. "You did wonderfully," her father whispered. "Your grandfather would have been so proud." After the ceremony, people crowded around the Johnsons. School board members wanted to shake their hands. Reporters asked for interviews. Parents wanted to introduce themselves. Through it all, Zara stood quietly beside her father, smiling politely, but saying little. Finally, Mrs. Peterson announced that refreshments were being served in the school cafeteria, and the crowd began to move inside. As people shuffled toward the building, David appeared beside Zara. "Nice speech," he said. "You didn't seem nervous at all." Zara laughed. "I was terrified. My grandmother didn't tell me I'd have to speak." "Well, you did great. Very inspirational." "Thanks for not treating me differently," Zara said. "Since everyone found out about my family, it's like I'm suddenly the most interesting person in school." David shrugged. "You're the same person you were last week, just with a famous last name." Before Zara could respond, Madison approached them, looking uncomfortable. Her usual group of friends hovered a few steps behind her. "Hi, Zara," Madison said. "Your speech was really good." "Thank you," Zara replied cautiously. Madison shifted from foot to foot. "I was wondering if maybe you'd like to come to my birthday party next weekend? It's going to be at my house. My parents rented a DJ and everything." Zara looked at her steadily. A week ago, Madison wouldn't have even spoken to her. Now she was inviting her to her party, but only after learning who Zara's family was. "I'll think about it," Zara said finally. Madison nodded quickly. "Great. I'll text you the details." She hurried back to her waiting friends. "Are you going to go?" David asked when Madison was out of earshot. Zara watched as Madison and her friends huddled together, glancing back at her. "I don't know. Would you go?" "Me?" David looked surprised. "I wasn't invited." "What if you were my +1? David raised his eyebrows. "You'd want me to come with you?" "You're the only person who's been real with me," Zara said. "Everyone else either ignored me before or is only nice to me now because of my family." Before David could respond, Zara's grandmother appeared beside them. "Zara, dear, the mayor wants to meet you." "And who is this young man?" "This is my friend David," Zara said. "David, this is my grandmother, Eleanor Johnson." David politely shook Eleanor's hand. "It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Johnson. The new science building is amazing." Eleanor studied him with interest. "Are you planning to study science, David?" "Yes, ma'am. I want to be a doctor someday." Eleanor nodded approvingly. "A worthy goal. Perhaps you could benefit from one of our foundation's scholarships for medical students when the time comes." "Thank you, but I'd rather earn it on my own merits," David said respectfully. Eleanor's eyebrows rose slightly, but she smiled. "I see why you and my granddaughter are friends. Now, Zara, we really must join your father. The mayor is waiting." As Zara followed her grandmother, she glanced back at David and mouthed, "See you Monday." For the first time since starting at Westlake Academy, Zara was actually looking forward to going to school. On Monday morning, Zara's father dropped her off at school instead of having her take the bus. "Just for today," he said with a smile. "I thought it might be easier." Zara was grateful. After Saturday's ceremony, she wasn't sure how students would react to her. As she walked through the school gates, she noticed people watching her, but it felt different from before. There were no mean whispers or laughs, just curious looks and a few friendly waves. "Zara," a voice called. It was Tiana from the bus. "Your speech was amazing on Saturday. You looked so confident up there." "Thanks," Zara said with a small smile. "I was actually really nervous." "Well, you couldn't tell," Tiana replied. "Hey, are you going to Madison's party this weekend?" "I'm not sure yet," Zara said. "You should come, everyone's talking about it. It's going to be the biggest party of the year." As Tiana chatted about the party, Zara spotted David at his locker. "Excuse me," she said to Tiana. "I need to talk to someone." David looked up as she approached. "Morning, famous person," he said with a grin. Zara rolled her eyes. Please don't call me that. Sorry. How was the rest of your Saturday with all those important people? Boring, Zara admitted. Lots of adults talking about money and buildings. I escaped as soon as I could. She hesitated. So, about Madison's party. You don't have to take me, David said quickly. I know you just said that in the moment. No, I meant it, Zara insisted. But only if you want to go. It might be awful. David thought for a moment. It might be interesting to see the inside of Madison Taylor's house. I hear her dad has a movie theater in the basement. So you'll come? As your +1? Sure. But don't blame me if I hide in a corner all night. Zara smiled. Deal. We can hide in a corner together. Their first class was chemistry, and they walked there together. When they entered the room, Madison was already there with her friends. She waved at Zara. Zara. Come sit with us, she called, pointing to an empty seat she had saved. Zara glanced at David, who shrugged. Go ahead, he said. I'll see you after class. But Zara shook her head. No thanks, Madison. I'm sitting with David today. Madison's smile faltered slightly. Oh, okay. Maybe at lunch then? Maybe, Zara replied, not committing. She and David took seats at the back of the class. Throughout the morning, students who had never spoken to Zara before now smiled at her in the hallways. Teachers who had barely noticed her suddenly asked for her opinion in class. It was strange how quickly things had changed. At lunch, Zara and David found a quiet table, but they weren't alone for long. Madison appeared with her tray. Can I join? You? She asked. Without waiting for an answer, she sat down across from them. So, Zara, are you coming to my party on Saturday? Zara nodded. Yes, and I'm bringing David as my guest. Madison looked at David as if seeing him for the first time. Oh, sure, that's fine. She turned back to Zara. My mom wants to know if your grandmother might come too. Just for a little while. She'd love to meet her. Zara tried not to show her surprise. My grandmother is very busy. I don't think she attends high school parties. But it would be so cool if she came. My mom says your family knows everyone important in the city. My grandmother is 68 years old, Zara said flatly. She doesn't hang out with teenagers. David hid a smile behind his hand. Madison looked disappointed but quickly brightened. Well, I'm glad you're coming anyway. I'm having a dress code. Everyone wears blue or white. It's going to be so Instagram-worthy. As Madison talked about her party plans, Zara noticed how different she was now. The mean girl who had made fun of Zara's clothes was gone, replaced by someone eager to please. It wasn't real friendship, just Madison trying to be connected to the Johnson name. After school, Zara found a note in her locker. It read, "Meet me in the library. I need to talk to you." It wasn't signed. Curious, Zara went to the library after her last class. In the back corner, she found Sophia, one of Madison's friends who had helped bully her. She was sitting alone, looking nervous. You wanted to see me? Zara asked. Sophia nodded. Thanks for coming. I wanted to talk to you without Madison around. She took a deep breath. I'm really sorry for how we treated you. It was mean and stupid. Madison already apologized, Zara said. I know, but... Sophia hesitated. Madison's not really sorry. She just wants to be friends with you because you're a Johnson. But I really am sorry. What we did was wrong, and I knew it was wrong even while we were doing it. Zara sat down across from her. Then why did you do it? Sophia looked down at her hands. Because I wanted Madison to like me. I was afraid if I didn't go along, she'd turn on me next. She looked up at Zara. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. I appreciate your honesty, Zara said after a moment. There's something else, Sophia said. You should know Madison is only inviting you to her party to show you off. She's already telling everyone that you and your family are coming like you're her new best friends. I figured it was something like that, Zara said. But thanks for telling me. What are you going to do? Zara thought for a moment. I'm still going to the party, but not for the reasons Madison thinks. That evening at dinner, Zara told her father and grandmother about her day. She mentioned Madison's party and how differently everyone was treating her now. It's the Johnson effect, her father said with a sad smile. People see the name, not the person. Not everyone, Zara said, thinking of David. Some people are. Real. Eleanor put down her fork. Zara, dear, there's something we need to discuss. The foundation board has been talking, and we think it would be good for you to take a more active role. What kind of role? Zara asked cautiously. Nothing too demanding, Eleanor assured her. Perhaps attending some events, visiting some of our projects. You gave such a lovely speech on Saturday. You have your grandfather's way with words. Zara's father frowned. Mom, she's 16. She has school and friends to think about. I'm not suggesting she run the foundation, Charles, Eleanor said. Just that she begin to learn about what we do. Howard always said the next generation needs to understand the responsibility that comes with the Johnson name. Zara thought about Madison and her fake friendship, about Sophia's honesty, about David who treated her the same before and after he knew who she was. I think I'd like that, she said, surprising both her father and grandmother. I want to understand what Grandpa built and why it matters. Eleanor beamed. Wonderful. We can start with the children's literacy program next week. It's not far from your school. Later that night, Zara texted David. Change of plans for Saturday. Still going to the party, but with a purpose. We'll explain tomorrow. David replied quickly. Sounds mysterious. Can't wait to hear it. As Zara got ready for bed, she thought about Madison's party. Everyone would be there expecting to see Zara Johnson, the rich heiress. But they were going to see a different side of her, the side her grandfather would have been proud of. For the first time since starting at Westlake Academy, Zara felt truly comfortable with who she was. She wasn't just Zara the new girl or Zara the Johnson heiress. She was finding a way to be both, and to use her family's name for something that mattered. With that thought, she drifted off to sleep, already planning what she would do at Madison's party and beyond. Saturday evening arrived, and Zara stood in front of her mirror, putting the final touches on her outfit for Madison's party. She had chosen a simple blue dress, following the party's color code, but added a beautiful handmade necklace from Ethiopia that her grandfather had given her years ago. It was a piece of her heritage she was proud to wear. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. My mom is dropping me at your house in 10 minutes. Still sure about this plan? Zara smiled and texted back, absolutely, see you soon. When she went downstairs, her father was in the living room reading a book. He looked up and smiled. You look beautiful, sweetheart. Thanks, Dad, Zara said. David's mom is dropping him off here, then we'll go to the party together. Her father nodded. And how exactly are you getting to Madison's house? I thought, maybe Jackson could drive us? Zara asked hopefully, referring to their family driver. Just this once. Her father raised an eyebrow. I thought you didn't want special treatment. It's not for showing off, Zara explained. It's part of the plan. Before her father could ask more questions, the doorbell rang. Zara opened the door to find David standing there in blue pants and a white button-up shirt. He looked nervous but smiled when he saw her. Wow, you look nice, he said. So do you, Zara replied, and come in. I want you to meet my dad. After introductions, Zara explained their transportation request to her father, who finally agreed to call Jackson. While they waited, Zara took David to the kitchen to explain her plan in more detail. So Madison just wants to show me off at her party, Zara said. To prove she's friends with a Johnson, but I'm going to flip the script. How? David asked. Zara smiled. You'll see, but I need your help. 20 minutes later, Jackson pulled the car up to Madison's large house. Music could be heard from inside, and colorful lights flashed in the windows. Teenagers in blue and white outfits were arriving, many stopping to stare as the sleek black car with tinted windows pulled up. Ready? Zara asked David. He nodded. as I'll ever be. Jackson opened the door for them, and they stepped out. Whispers immediately spread among the arriving guests. Zara held her head high as she and David walked to the front door, ignoring the stares. Madison herself opened the door, wearing an expensive blue dress and a huge smile. "Zara, you came. And David." Her smile faltered slightly before returning to full brightness. "Come in, everyone's in the backyard." She led them through her house, which was indeed impressive, with high ceilings and expensive furniture. The backyard had been transformed with strings of lights, a dance floor, and a DJ booth. A long table held fancy food and drinks, and a professional photographer was taking pictures of groups of students. "My mom hired the same photographer who does all the charity galas," Madison boasted. "He's going to take our picture together for the school newspaper." "Sounds great," Zara said with a smile. "But first, can I talk to everyone? I have an announcement." Madison looked surprised but quickly nodded. "Of course, whatever you want." She turned to the DJ and made a cutting motion. The music stopped, and Madison grabbed a microphone. "Everyone, Zara Johnson has something to say," she announced proudly, as if Zara were her personal celebrity. All eyes turned to Zara as she took the microphone. She looked around at the crowd of students, many of whom had ignored her for weeks when she first came to Westlake Academy. "Thanks for having me at your party, Madison," Zara began. "For those who don't know me well, I'm Zara Johnson. Until recently, most of you didn't talk to me or even look at me." She paused as uncomfortable silence fell over the party. "That changed when you found out about my family. Suddenly everyone wanted to be my friend." Madison shifted nervously beside her. "But tonight isn't about that," Zara continued. "It's about something more important. My grandfather built the Johnson Foundation to help people who need it. He believed that wealth comes with responsibility." She reached into her small purse and pulled out a stack of envelopes. "That's why I'm here tonight." She handed the first envelope to Madison, whose hands trembled slightly as she took it. "What's this?" Madison asked. "Open it," Zara said, her voice amplified by the microphone. Madison opened the envelope and pulled out a card. She read it silently, her eyes widening. "It's an invitation," Zara explained to everyone. "Not to a party, but to volunteer at the Johnson Children's Literacy Center. It's a place where kids from low-income families come to get help with reading and homework." She held up the rest of the envelopes. "I have one for each of you." She handed the microphone to David, who had been standing quietly beside her. He took it with a nervous smile. "Zara asked me to help distribute these," he said. "If you want to make a real difference in someone's life and maybe learn something about yourself in the process, take an envelope and join us next Saturday. It's not glamorous work, but it matters." Together, Zara and David walked through the crowd, handing out envelopes. Some students looked confused, others embarrassed, but many seemed genuinely interested. Madison stared at her invitation, then looked up at Zara. "Is this why you came to my party, to recruit volunteers?" "Partly," Zara admitted, "but also to show everyone that being a Johnson isn't about having money or a famous name. It's about helping others." For a moment, Madison looked like she might be angry. Then her expression changed. "Can I really help? I've never done anything like this before." "Neither had I, until my grandfather showed me how," Zara said. "We all have to start somewhere." The DJ started the music again, and slowly, the party atmosphere returned. But something had changed. Students were reading their invitations, talking in small groups. Some came up to Zara with questions about the literacy center. Later, as Zara and David got cups of punch, Sophia approached them. "I think what you did was really cool," she said. "I'm definitely coming next Saturday." "Me too," said a voice behind them. It was Madison. "And I was thinking maybe we could use my birthday money to buy new books for the kids?" She looked uncertain, as if expecting Zara to laugh at her. Instead, Zara smiled. "That's a great idea, Madison. The kids would love that." As the party continued, Zara found herself actually enjoying it, not because she was being treated like a celebrity, but because for the first time people were seeing her for who she really was, not just a rich girl, not just the quiet new student, but Zara Johnson, her grandfather's granddaughter, finding her own way to carry on his legacy. Around midnight, Jackson arrived to take Zara and David home. As they walked to the car, David nudged her shoulder gently. "Your plan worked," he said. "You turned a show-off party into a volunteer recruitment drive." Zara laughed. "I wasn't sure it would work. I thought people might just throw away the invitations." "Are you kidding? After your speech? Nobody's throwing those away." He hesitated. "Your grandfather would be proud of you, you know." "I think so too," Zara said softly. "And I'm proud to be his granddaughter." The following Saturday, Zara arrived at the Johnson Children's Literacy Center early to help set up. She wasn't sure how many students from Westlake would actually show up. Maybe none. Maybe they had just taken the invitations to be polite. But at exactly 10 o'clock, the first car pulled up. It was David. He waved at her through the window, then got out and jogged toward the entrance. "Ready to teach some kids to read?" he asked with a grin. "More than ready," Zara replied. Before they could go inside, another car arrived, then another, and another. Students began pouring out. Madison and Sophia, Tiana from the bus, and at least 20 others from school. Some looked nervous, others excited. All of them had shown up. "I didn't think this many would come," Zara whispered to David. "You showed them something real," David said. "That's rare these days." As Zara led her classmates into the center, where eager children were already waiting for their reading buddies, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced since starting at Westlake Academy. She wasn't hiding who she was anymore. Not her family name, not her heritage, not her values. The bullies who had once laughed at her now stood beside her, learning what it meant to give back. And Zara Johnson, once mocked for her simple clothes and worn backpack, was teaching them the most valuable lesson of all, that true worth had nothing to do with what you owned, but everything to do with who you were and how you treated others. Just as her grandfather had always said.